Yo, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the first official episode of the Dark Roast Podcast. I'm not gonna lie to you, a little nervous today. A little nervous to do this podcast for y'all because it's been a lot. It's been a lot going on within the construct of my life and just where I wanted this podcast to really be at. Um, but first of all, starting off my morning, I made myself an ice brown sugar pistachio iced latte this morning. So good. Made it with a nice little sweetened cold foam. My wife actually loves this, so Nia is really enjoying this. I'm really trying to get my cold foam game down. So, so if you guys are just tuning in, hope you got yourself some coffee or whatever you do to get yourself perked up in the morning. But today's show is something that I've wanted to talk about for a cool minute, you know, and because there's something about just doing this podcast that made me rethink a lot of different things. And for one, for those who actually listen to other podcasts I've done, for those who are tuning in currently right now or listening where you're at, whether it be on Spotify, Apple, or whatever the case may be, you're probably seeing a bunch of different titles of shows within that. And the reason I did that, and not like just completely delete all those, is because I really wanted to show you what I mean by today's topic. And today, I just really want to get into talking about, like, why don't we post our failures? Like, I mean, there's people that do that. I understand that. I understand that people actually, they don't care, about, they show you their entire process, and through editing and clipping, what I mean, they show you, the trials and tribulations of that. But for me, I was like, I'm trying to find a podcast that I really enjoy doing, that I can do consistently, even when I don't have guests, to do it by myself. And then this year, I really have gone down the rabbit hole of espresso. 'Cause every time I say espresso, I get like killed by all the the real coffee fans out there. But I gone down the route. Me and the wife bought a Breville, changed my life on how I perceive coffee, espresso, and other latte-based drinks. I started to save a lot more money not going to Starbucks. But me and the wife like to go to like local coffee shops on a Sunday morning and just see different shops, different coffee carts. It's more of that content be coming soon on the gram and on YouTube for that matter. But um, but yeah, so on my page you'll see all these what I call failed attempts to really do a podcast that really resonated with the audience, and that's why I want to leave it on there just to show you, like, this has been a work in progress. I've had several different names of shows around things that I really do enjoy, but I just love having conversations with folks, and this is what this podcast is going to be, really conversations and talking about maybe the dark side of conversations that if you were chilling at the coffee shop with a friend, um, those conversations come out. And this is one of the conversations that came out with me and a buddy of mine, was like really talking about why don't we post our failures a lot more. Some of us are scared to do such things, scared to see the process, because I feel like in this society, everybody wants you to have it ready to go. And we're also in that world where nobody actually watches anything longer than 15 seconds. It has to be funny. It has to be comical. It has to be super engaging. And don't get me wrong, that's all great and that's all dandy, but there's also love and strength in the struggle. I can't say who exactly said the quote, but, like, it's about the journey, right? And not necessarily the destination. The destination is just the icing on the cake. Like me going down, it's like the journey of making a good latte. It's like you go through so many different trials. You go through so many different espresso beans, and you're like, okay, what is it? What is it about my extraction? If you don't know what that is, that's just like the liquid that comes out of the machine. Um, Why does it taste bitter? Why is it, I'm not getting these notes? And it's going through that process that makes you really appreciate that. And in basketball, when I used to coach, one thing I used to tell the girls is you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And for a long time, I wasn't like that. I wasn't comfortable being uncomfortable. Um, there's some things that I would say on my podcast to try to be funny or try to super engage y'all, and it just wasn't fucking working, man. And in my mind, and I'm like, nobody wants to sit there and listen to me talk about just like random stuff or things that super bother me or getting really deep with stuff. And this year, I decided to say, no, fuck all that. Be honest with you, because there's beauty in those deep conversations. And shout out to my boy Donald, man. Like he actually brought this to mind because one day I was at a local coffee shop in the city where I pretty much grew up in, and I actually ran into him, grabbed him some coffee, and we got to talking, and we went to high school together. We weren't like super close at the time, but we knew each other. It wasn't too many black people in our neighborhood, so we kind of knew each other from opposite ends of the spectrum. He went to a different middle school. I went to a different middle school, but we met it in high school, and we got cool in high school. Always been friends, but we just never stayed close. You know what I mean? But we were having a conversation, and while he was waiting for his coffee, and it was such a great in-depth conversation just to learn where he's been going through his trials and the things that really spoke to him. And the thing that he said to me was like, "Hey man, why don't we do this like once a week, man? Let's just meet up and just have a conversation, dude. Like as two black married men, we have a lot to say, a lot to get off our chest, and sometimes it just helps to talk to somebody else that's in our same, predicament." And I was like, you know what, man, I can do that. And for that started off a journey of us like meeting up once a week, just talking about our problems and stuff like that, or talking about our wins and celebrating our wins together, but really putting in different perspective. And that's what I wanted, man. I wanted those conversations translated into a podcast, and hence that's why we have this Dark Roast podcast. And it wouldn't happen if I didn't have so many what I deem as failures. And my failures are not necessarily failures. It's just like trying to like weed out exactly what I want to do into the thing that's going to make me the most money. If I'm being really, what I mean? Uh, like I should have posted more of like the things that really like I really failed on, not just the podcast. Like I failed in my opinion um at really um being vulnerable to certain things. Um Example being like I failed in previous relationships to really be there for my partners. And it was something that really made me think about things. Like I used to, really take part in an organization, and it was the life of me, man. It was a nonprofit organization. For those who don't know, it was the Downey Rose Float Association. So anybody listening, shout out to Downey Rose Float. I learned a lot in that process of working down there from a kid all the way up to now, and it took a lot from me. You know what I mean? But it gave me a lot. I'm not gonna lie. But what I failed at in a previous relationship was picking that thing over them, and if and it was something I wasn't getting paid for. I just enjoyed doing it. If I'm being honest, I enjoyed going to do something that a lot of other people don't get the chance to do. And it was kind of a boasting moment for me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna hold it. You know what I mean? But it definitely made me think. And it wasn't until I got with my current wife, with Nia, that I really thought about this process. She put some things in perspective, and I wanted to really be there for her. I wanted to show up there for her. I wanted to be really involved. And she's never been a person who's like kept me away from things. She's like, do your thing, I understand. And she was very understanding, and I love her for that. But also, when you meet somebody that just makes you, want more and do more, and motivates you to do more, even without motivating you, if that makes sense. It's a whole different thing. And I should have posted more of my like failed attempts to like try to be, you know, part of something that never maybe necessarily nobody like felt like it took me for granted on. And that's the vulnerable thing, because a lot of us have that. A lot of us are a part of things that um uh drain us in certain ways, and sometimes it takes somebody to just really point it out to you. And I didn't do that. I didn't post those. I posted all the fun things about it, but there were some things about it that didn't sit well. That didn't sit well. And I can acknowledge that now. But I'm glad I went through them, because within that failure of just being present for my past relationships, made me want to be more present now. And so obviously, you always learn from things, when you go through these failures. The other thing I wish I would have posted more was like my time, going through um my it's kind of hard to talk about really, but like my surgeries. Like I went through surgery for the first time ever. I've never had surgery before, and I had like this like massive um I don't know what mask in my ball sack scrotum. I don't remember the technical term, but I had it for years, and I dealt with it for years, and it wasn't well. I wasn't in pain. I wasn't like that. But typically, black folks, we know this. We know that we don't like going to the damn hospital. I don't know. We don't like going to doctors. And if I'm not in pain, if I can't solve it with some fucking Robitussin, some Tylenol, some orange juice, then I'm really not in pain. Some aloe vera for some cuts, whatever. I'm not really in pain. But also, I really never had insurance to really deal with that. But I wish I would have like posted just my process of doing that for the first time, and really knowing as a black man how much like health is really important to get things done. And it grew in size. I think after my surgery, my surgeon was like, yeah, it was like over 2 pounds, which is unheard of. And the discomfort I had with just trying to like buy pants, because it just looked like I had, giant balls. You know what I mean? Which I do. I'm not gonna lie, I do. No, sorry. But yeah, it was just that was hard, to go through that process, because, and it wasn't until I was with my wife where she kind of like, helped me through this process of like, these are things you really gotta take care of. Just because you don't have like, just because you feel like you don't have the insurance, things that get taken care of. And my process, I was so fucking nervous, man. Like I was so nervous because I had to be put to sleep. I had to be under. And I've obviously never been under. And I don't know if anybody has ever like worried about like that. I'm pretty sure people like worry about not waking up. You know what I mean? Like not waking up. And it scared the living daylights out of me. Not I like and it did. I didn't know how to really take that. I didn't know what to do. I try to hide it with comedy, but I was scared. I was scared. My wife was there with me. My time, my fiance was there with me throughout the whole entire time. And you know, I had like a boutique service, which was nice. I had this nice little. I wasn't in a hospital. I was like in this like boutique surgical offices. I felt top class. I felt like I was like, oh damn, this is what luxury feel like. This is luxury surgery experience. And so I had a great time. Doctors were great. Nurses were great. Um, and I was scared, man. And the guy who put me underneath, the anesthesiologist, and I'm probably killing that word. So my English is sometimes just funny bunny. But like put me under. He was like rough with me. He was like, all right, put the tube, and it was just like so much. You know what it felt like? I felt like I was that moment like in ET where they're putting them under, they're putting the mask on them. I felt like that's how I felt. I felt ET's pain at the moment when I was getting put under. But waking up and just seeing my wife and just being like, okay, this is something that's just immediately feeling better about it. But just I wish I would have documented that process. But like I just failed to be vulnerable. And I just, but it's also like do I need to post all the time? But I fail to realize that everybody has something to say, everybody has a story to tell, and somebody's failures can be somebody's teaching moments. And that's what I wanted to really post about, was make it a teachable moment for anybody that's going through what I was going through at the time. But yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard. It's hard to think about. It's hard to think about, man. It's very hard. Mm. God, this drink is good. So yeah, I just wished I would have posted more of my failures, and I just made me think about, why don't we post our failures? Are we just so in our mindset that we just have to post all the good shit? People just want to see the good stuff, and that's true. People want to see things that they can get rallied behind. Like all this shit going on with ISIS, aka fuck ISIS, and everything they're doing, and how they're doing these people. But this is the stuff we like as Americans. Apparently, we love some drama. We love some motherfucking drama. But we don't see the wins, and we don't. But nobody wants to post like the failed attempts at getting to that point. Like the drama is not a failed attempt; it's just drama. You know what I mean? Like, a person who, for example, I start watching a lot of videos on people actually making their own coffee carts. And the ones I actually enjoy are the people was posting like, I tried this way, that shit didn't work, you know what I mean? And like, or the content wasn't all there, me who've been shooting content for a few years now, trying to figure out different ways to make it work, and with lighting and audio and all this good stuff. And nope, these people are doing it on their cell phones and like I'm just posting. And they didn't care about posting like the rawness. And then when you see them get to a point where it looked more professional, it looked more organized, it's like, okay, I appreciate them more for that. So those people who are building their coffee carts, they are showing their process, all this stuff, but nobody talks about like posting like the failed attempts of like trying to get a food permit or licensing or the right things. Like these are people don't post these things because they feel like either nobody cares, or if they do, nobody's gonna watch it because it's like, oh, it's good information. A lot of shit is good information. A lot of things I learned because I am thinking about doing a coffee cart, but it's just so much fucking money. It's just so much money because I'm low key lazy and I'm not gonna want to make nothing. I'm not gonna want to make a coffee cart. You know what I mean? Even though it can save me thousands of dollars, probably, I don't want to do it. There's something in it about just like leaving it to professionals, let them do it, pay for the service, and that's it. And that's one thing I'm actually learning in life too. Is somebody you just got to pay for the damn service. You got to pay for your conveniency sometimes, and sometimes you just got to pay for your conveniency. Um. So yeah, that's the great question, man. Why don't we post our failures? Like, first of all, do you think you post your failures? Do you like honestly think you ask that yourself? Do I post my failures? If you gotta like really think about it, then you probably don't. But people want to see that. People need to see that. People need to see that you're human. You know, in a world we cut things down to a 6 second, 15-second promo to show the goodness about it, and the failed attempts it did to edit something down to get this like, that's why we have bloopers. You know what I mean? People want to. There's great material, and even in the bloopers and those failed attempts to make something magical for somebody. But this has been a reflection of mine I've been having for a little bit. So it makes me wonder if this is the right path for me to do. If people are going to listen to the podcast, to think that it's called the Dark Roast Podcast, people's probably going to think it's nothing about coffee on here. I mean, it's metaphorical, right? The whole concept is like those deep, dark conversations that you will have at a coffee shop with somebody. And I'm gonna try to come in with a drink every day because I gotta have my damn espresso. I gotta have my latte. Um, to get me through my day. And so is the wife. And but I do implore you, like, to stay with me on this journey. I do, because no matter what, I'm gonna try to post more. I'm trying to post more of my failures, failed attempts, to see exactly what sticks out. Like, it's all about connection, and as people, we do thrive on connection. We want it. We yearn for it. Um, you know, the last thing I want to talk about is just like doing this podcast is a little bit therapeutic for me, and maybe listening is therapeutic for you. So, once again, like our opening says, I implore you to get some coffee, come stay a while, and remember, it's about the journey. It's falling in love with the process. It is being happy with the failures because you know that they will result in successful attempts. So, this has been an episode of Dark Roast Podcast. I implore you to like, subscribe, click that notification on YouTube so you can get those first up to dates. And remember that love is not bought, it's brewed. All right, y'all. We'll see you when you see you.